No matter how development is measured, it is always geographically uneven. In this lecture, we will examine key concepts in development, such as sociodemographic and environmental indicators, gender-related indexes, and the Human Development Index. These topics are important to geography because of the desire to pinpoint and analyze the unevenness from one place or region to another, as well as the social and environmental consequences of development, in hopes to understand the differences around the world. People are the most important resource a country has, as it is they who determine the use of other resources. Therefore, development relies on a healthy, literate, and educated population. These factors are captured in the socio-demographic indicators. Specifically, these indicators include infant mortality rates, life expectancy rates, literacy, and educational attainment. The map shows the infant mortality rate for 2011. Infectious diseases and malnourishment rank as leading causes of high infant mortality rates, but medical care before, during, and after the delivery of a child is also crucial. The photo shows midwives in Indonesia receiving training on resuscitating infants. Studies suggest that small measures such as improved access to skilled midwives can significantly reduce infant mortality rates. The use of environmental indicators have been a recent phenomenon. They were incorporated into development analysis after the 1992 United Nations conference known as Earth Summit, and have encouraged countries to incorporate sustainable measures in their country's development. A few of the indicators include environmental hazards such as flooding, drought, earthquakes, loss of biodiversity, and access to safe potable water. Most Americans take for granted access to piped, safe water and do not think much about the source of it, but in parts of the developing world, collection and consumption of untreated surface water is common. This map shows that there are numerous districts in Africa where most households lack piped water. The Human Development Index was created in 1990 to incorporate information about the standard of living, health, and education of a country's people in a single statistic. This statistic has developed over the years, but today it includes Ch9, adjusted for PPP, life expectancy, the average years of schooling for adults, and the expected years of schooling for children given present enrollment trends. When computed, the HDI yields a value between 0 and 1. Which can be used as a relative measure of human development. Values closer to 1 indicate a high level of human development. The map shows the HDI for the world countries. In South Asia, adults on average have about 5 years of schooling, which draws the region's HDIs down. As shown in the table, a high GNI per capita does not necessarily correspond to a high HDI. In general, Cubans have high life expectancies, good access to education, and a government-financed healthcare system that provides coverage to all citizens, but low GNI. And conversely, despite its mineral resource wealth, Botswana has one of the lowest life expectancies of any country and low levels of literacy and education. To include the inequalities of access to income, healthcare, and education, the Inequality Adjusted Human Development Index, or IHDI, was created. The chart compares the HDI and the IHDs by world region. Equal values would indicate full equity. The closer the bars, the lower the inequality. Which region has the largest gap? To also understand gender issues in development, a gender-related index was created called the Gender Inequality Index, or GII for short. The Gender Inequality Index helps make international comparisons and see regional trends in gender disparity. As shown, values of the GII are mapped by country. In contrast to the HDI and IHDI, values closer to 1 indicate higher gender inequality. In sub-Saharan Africa, very high maternal mortality and adolescent fertility rates, plus low percentages of women with high school education, contribute to high gender inequality. The table shows adolescent fertility rates for selected countries. These rates tend to echo marriage patterns. Even though age at marriage has risen, women tend to be younger than men at marriage, and in rural parts of the developing regions they often marry as adolescents. This chart compares the percentage of women and men in the labor force for different countries. In the East African countries of Rwanda and Burundi, the percentage of women in the labor force exceeds that of men. Across much of the Middle East and North Africa, women's participation in the labor force is very low. It has been theorized why some countries are more developed than others. In other words, what factors or conditions contributed to the development of some countries over others. These factors can be broken into two categories: geographic conditions and institutional conditions. Table 9.1 shows the geographical conditions that are for the most part unavoidable and could contribute to why some countries have the ability to excel over other countries. For example, in sub-Saharan Africa, a combination of difficulties or adverse conditions works to complicate the development process, such as landlocked countries, poor soils, and a heavy disease burden associated with both malaria and HIV and AIDS. Furthermore, institutional conditions could include authoritarian rule, corruption, and discrimination. Please pause the video and answer the following. Explain the Human Development Index and why it is used. Also include a description of the indices involved. In your own words, using the text as a guide, be thorough and specific in your answer.